Alright guys, so when I watched the trailer for this movie, I saw Jason Segel with glasses, long hair, and a bandana, smoking a lot of cigarettes. So then I started to draw my own speculations, and I'm saying to myself, alright, so this Jesse Eisenberg's in this, Jason Segel, the two of them are literally probably stoners. They're probably just going to get high for the entirety of this movie. After having watched the movie, guys, I learned a very important lesson. Do not judge a movie by its trailer. Or as the old saying, don't judge a book by its cover. Damn stereotypes, man. Damn stereotypes. But, yeah, that's a big lesson I learned. No judging movies by trailers. Just don't do it. Anyway, guys, hey there, what's up? It's Autobot Mike 18. I swear, I literally thought there were just going to be two stoners for the entire movie. Anyway, guys, in this video, I'm going to be reviewing a film I was definitely looking forward to see for one big reason, and it's a reason I made a whole video on it. And of course, guys, the film I'm going to be reviewing in this video is the end of the tour. That's right, guys, the end of the tour finally came to this indie theater that was very close to my house. I was very joyful, and I really was getting a little nervous because I'm like, I don't know if this movie's going to come to my theater, because it was released very limited on July 31st, and it was like 3 weeks later, and I'm still waiting and waiting for this film to come open in my theater, and it did, finally. And I was really relieved, because I was looking forward to this movie, mainly because this is yet another A24 distributed release that we have been given this year. And if you guys watched my most recent, I'll leave a link to it in this video, but I made an entire spotlight discussion video on A24, why I think they're a great film studio. That video is currently up on my channel. I uploaded it a few weeks ago. If you're interested in checking it out, please, I'll leave a link. Please check it out. I put a lot of time into it, and I think you guys will really enjoy it if you love A24 films. Anyway, yes, since this was distributed, of course, being distributed from A24, I immediately caught wind of this movie. I think it got some love at Sundance as well, and it is from director James Ponsoldt, who actually directed The Spectacular Now, another film that I have on Blu-ray and enjoy from A24. So when I heard that he was directing this movie, I said, all right, now I definitely, have high hopes for this movie. But let's get into the premise behind the end of the tour. Guys, the movie is set sometime, I think, in either 1996 or 1995. I want to say 96. And it revolves around a writer, aspiring writer slash Rolling Stone journalist or interviewer, if you will. And he's played by and his name is David Lipsky, and he's played by Jesse Eisenberg in this movie. He's had some books published, he's got some work done. He, however, has a great idea for a new story, an article, a piece he wants to write about a very well-known author who's in the middle of a book tour promoting one of his newest books. And the name of this author is David Foster Wallace, and in this movie he is portrayed by Jason Segel. And David Lipsky has this great idea to go with him as he's nearing the end of his book tour, spend a couple days with him, get to know him a bit more, interview him, ask him a ton of questions, so then he can go take all of this information and write a giant article or a good piece on David Foster Wallace for Rolling Stone. So the two of them meet at Foster Wallace's home, and they end up going on this book tour, or the end of this book tour. What turns out to be like a 5-day trip, and the two of them, are asking each other questions, getting to know each other, getting acquainted with each other, and finding out a lot about each other and life in general as the days progress. And that's all I want to say about the end of the tour without giving anything away specifically. And I also just want to make a little bit of a disclaimer known, guys, to anyone who thinks they want to go see this movie or something. After I watched the movie, I was online, and I was looking at the reviews online, and I was looking at reviews on IMDb, and some person said that this is like, he gave it like a extremely low grade, and was going on about how it was just a very disappointing movie, walked out halfway through the movie, it was boring, it was just nothing nonstop but conversation and dialogue and everything, and, nothing dramatic or anything happened. That's how one person looked at this movie. And I want to just really stress this one thing, guys. If you are not a fan of heavy conversation or intensive dialogue between characters that literally is going to progress the story and progress the character development, essentially, then you're not gonna like this movie, because right off the bat, there's no like heavy, dramatic, big moments in which involve like some character's ultimate death, you know, and everybody's sad, and then a character learns to be something greater or something like there's nothing like that. There's no like little Hollywood thing like that's not what the end of the tour is. This is a straight up just dialogue heavy movie where two characters have conversations for 90% of the movie. So if you are not a fan of this type of filmmaking, where, you know, if you want more like substance and you want more to be told in less dialogue, and more of the story to be told through shot language, and overall you want the film to be expressive through shots, you're not going to get that with the end of the tour if you're looking for that type of movie. Or if you're looking for some big like twist or something, you know, like some big Hollywood twist or something, you're not going to get that with the end of the tour. It's not that type of story. That being said, that's utterly fine with me. I am fine with having a movie where two characters are just talking nonstop throughout the entire movie, and yet the dialogue is, you know, whether it be witty or important or very intelligent and very well written. I'm fine with a movie like that. And that is why the end of the tour worked for me, guys. This movie has very well written dialogue that is equally insightful and compelling amidst these characters. It is really compelling to see what the two viewpoints are of these characters, and there is a moment somewhere in the screenplay where these two characters have a disagreement of sorts. They get to, when they first meet, you know, they have similarities, they have their differences, they have a lot of interesting viewpoints on life. One of them in particular, and that is of course David Foster Wallace, the subject of this you know, article or this piece for the Rolling Stone. Like that in its own right is exciting, but the dialogue has to be good, the story has to be good, the characters have to be well driven, they have to have an interesting perspective on what they're trying to bring about in the story and whatnot, and it is, and that's why this movie is a good case in point of a movie that relies heavily on dialogue and actually worked very well in doing so. Not only is the screenplay very well done, the direction is very good by James Ponsoldt, but the performances is another thing that is important that needs to propel this movie. And our two leads, not only do they have incredible chemistry with one another, but they both give really good performances. One of them utterly unrecognizable, and that is of course Jason Segel's performance, which I'll get more into. But again, just getting back into the script and why it worked so well for me. This is a movie where two writers decide to meet, okay? And we find out that, yeah, when we first open on him, David Lipsky, we see him as a Rolling Stone reporter, journalist, whatever you want to call him. But we later come to find out that he is a writer. He's tried to have works published, but he isn't, I would say, as far along in his career as Jason Segel's character is, David Foster Wallace, who has now, I think, had like a second or third big book published. This is like a 1,000-page book, and this is a beloved publication that he released, and a lot of people love this book, which is why he's on this tour, which is what caught Jesse Eisenberg's character's attention in the movie. And just to see these two meet and just have a fun time together. They have their ups together. They have some great moments where they're smoking and they're just talking about life, and they're talking about certain viewpoints, how Jason Segel views love, or how he views I don't know, being anxious amongst fame and amongst being well recognized by other people. I mean, they even have, like, David Foster Wallace even has interesting viewpoints on, like, stuff revolving relationships and masturbation even, that you're just going to sit there and say to yourself, my word, this guy's actually incredibly wise, and he actually has some really great points that he's bringing up. And that's ultimately what caught my attention so much with this movie. I laughed here or there, I shook my head and nodded back and forth at what these characters were saying here or there, and it's because the screenplay is so good, the dialogue between these characters is so stimulating. It's the type of dialogue that just gets you thinking about what they're saying. It's so fascinating to see these characters with different and similar viewpoints and perspectives on life and fame and isolation and depression and love and achieving what one sets out to do, achieving happiness and all that. That is just utterly incredible to watch unfold on screen, and that is why the end of the tour is as memorable and as, you know, emotionally and investing as any film, any dramatic film come out nowadays that doesn't rely as heavily on dialogue, okay? You know, that's why I enjoyed The End of the Tour as much as I did. The screenplay was just really good, and again, I keep going back to it because of the fact that this is the type of film that relies heavily on dialogue. The dialogue has to be good, and since it is good, it does propel the movie, it does make it excel, and that is why I enjoyed the movie as much as I simply did. Now, let's get into the performances really briefly, but I do have to really just sing Jason Segel's praises in this movie, because he delivers a near transformative performance as David Foster Wallace, because Jason Segel, I like the guy, okay? I don't have a huge beef with him. The comedies that I've seen him in, namely last year's Sex Tape, I think he's ultimately the best part. But ultimately, he's just playing that goofball character with given terrible lines of dialogue in those movies, and you just can't take him seriously. In this movie, his character is both serious yet very very laid back at the same time, and he's so insightful and so knowledgeable. He has so many interesting and intriguing viewpoints on all of these different things amidst life. And he may or may not be hiding things that Jesse Eisenberg is trying to really pull out from him. He's trying to pull out certain truths. And even in like his like literal actions and little mannerisms here or there, how, you know, fascinated he is, his interests and whatnot, the way that is all portrayed so well by Jason Segel is what really just blows my mind with this movie. It makes me say, yeah, that's like, I didn't see Jason Segel when I saw this movie. I got lost into this character, I got lost into what he was saying, I got lost into his viewpoints on life, and that's ultimately why I just enjoyed this movie, because I didn't see Jason Segel. I saw a David Foster Wallace, an author who is beloved, apparently. This is based on a true story, but I've never heard of anything before in my life. I didn't know anything about this guy until I watched this movie. Not a thing. Walked in this movie totally blind other than seeing the trailer. And Jason Segel just knocks it out of the park in this movie. He is that good. He really is. I'm not saying he's going to get Oscar love or anything, but come Independent Film Spirit Awards time, give this man some love, because he was great in the movie. Jesse Eisenberg is also very good. He's sort of playing that like curious like reporter type role who is like feeding off of what Jason Segel's character is saying. And he's trying to get little snippets and more information about him. He's the type of character who would literally push record on the sound recorder that he has, and Jason Segel's like, can you like just, you know, like, I want you to record what I want you to say and record what I don't, and not record what I don't want you to say, and whatnot. And it just worked very well for me. I thought Jesse Eisenberg was great. One thing that I really enjoyed seeing portrayed through his character is that at moments, like, people around him are sort of pressuring him to, I guess, jeopardize his own journalistic integrity in order to just put out like this entertaining story that literally may or may not be the truth about David Foster Wallace. And that's what I enjoyed a lot about The End of the Tour, and specifically Jesse Eisenberg's character in the movie. Overall, there's great scenes between these two characters. There's great moments that the two of these characters share with each other. They have fun together. They have their downs together. They have moments where they disagree on some things. There's even a heated, debate between these two at one point in the movie after they are conflicting. They have conflicting ideas about something. And ultimately, guys, the best scene in the movie, in my opinion, and it's also one of the best scenes I've seen in a movie all year, probably. There's a scene where Jason Segel talks to Jesse Eisenberg late one night. Jesse Eisenberg's sleeping. He wakes him up and is just standing in the doorway just talking to him about something. And that scene is great in my opinion, not only because of how good the dialogue is, but because of what specifically he's saying, the subject matter that he's talking about, how he's talking about his past life and how certain demons are present within people. That's all I really want to say. I don't give it away. It's one of the best monologues, I guess you could call it, of the whole year. It's one of the best scenes of the whole year. It's just a great moment in this movie. It's a great moment that defines what life in general is about and what character flaws are about in a movie like this. And that's what some of these characters do have flaws, and they're slowly revealed to each other, amidst each other, as they're talking throughout the movie and having these really profound, really somewhat moving conversations with each other. And that's ultimately the best adjectives that I can give to describe the screenplay. It's moving, it's powerful, it's very insightful. It opens your head, or opens your mind to a lot of different possibilities and a lot of different viewpoints on life, and the certain extent of, aspects of life, namely fame and everything I've been mentioning, depression and dealing with depression and all of that. And that's why The End of the Tour worked really well for me. Fantastic performances, an excellent screenplay, really good job behind the camera. James Ponsoldt, I think he does a great job directing actors. I've seen it with this. I've seen it with The Spectacular Now. In the end, there's nothing mind-blowing with the cinematography or anything. It's just your average basic camera setup and shots and whatnot. It's nothing that's going to say this movie deserves a Best Cinematography Oscar or anything like that. There's nothing mind-blowing with the score or anything like that. But overall, The End of the Tour works so well because of its solid and strong screenplay and performances from its two leads. And that's why I'm going to go as high as I am with my rating for the movie. I'm going to give The End of the Tour a 9 out of 10 or an A-. I really enjoyed this movie. I definitely recommend you guys check it out if it comes to a theater near you. It was worth it in my opinion. But again, if you're not a fan of these type of quiet, independent films with really just heavy conversation that is eye-opening, then this isn't your type of movie. If you love that kind of stuff, this is your type of movie. Definitely go see it. So guys, that's all I have to say about The End of the Tour. What did you guys think about the movie? If you have seen it, let me know down below in the comments. And thank you guys as always for watching. I will see you in my next review. Bye guys.